is it The Exorcist with a lamppost? It's kind of like that.
Just exposing the big shiny top of your head.
The fact that Oz didn't even recognise it was you, like, for that distance. Like, who's that over there?
You do look like a sex offender in that picture, to be fair.
The jacket doesn't help either.
The long coat doesn't help yet.
It's the big jacket. We'll need to share this image so that people know what we're talking about when this goes out.
For those that are watching on YouTube, it's popped up on the screen right now so you can see it. I might make a psycho movie poster out of it, Hunter.
Should we now? We could just now make it a new theme where every time we're advertising what film we're watching, we just insert that picture into the film poster and just find different ways to get it in there.
Just Conor McGregor standing beside Hunter.
Oh. I mean, at least Conor McGregor's got a full head of hair. He's not got a full head of anything else, though, eh? It's fucking empty, that head, eh? Nutter. Absolute nutter.
It's
cocaine and hair follicles, that's all in that.
It may be all these magic pills that he's taking that keeps his hair growing. That's what the pills are for, eh?
Well, I've heard that. I mean, no evidence at all, but...
Sorry I don't speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun, you fucking moron.
Dressed up like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron?
Ah! You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron. Hey, moron.
Well, welcome into another episode of Morons Review Movies. This week we have been extremely creative in the movie that we reviewed versus the one that we reviewed last week. So last week we reviewed 1989 Roadhouse, and this week we're going to review 2024 Roadhouse.
Had to be done.
Looking forward to the next one coming out too.
Yeah. Well, there is actually a Roadhouse 2. We should have watched in between.
I was about to say that. I did notice that in my trivia. There was a straight to DVD Roadhouse 2.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that'd have been a straight to VHS, I would have imagined, when that came out.
See how obviously how this one was straight to Amazon Prime. Is that the equivalent of a straight to DVD type movie now? Where, like, it's just
yes.
Because surely a movie with Conor McGregor in it gets people going to the cinema to see it.
Clearly not. Like they must have done focus groups and stuff, because if there was money to be made with this going to the cinema, it would have gone to the cinema, I think. It's one of those that a lot of people were excited to watch it because it was free on Amazon and you could watch it in the living room.
Is that the thing though? Like, obviously with Netflix, like, so you get some films that, like The Irishman, if Netflix didn't exist, would have been at the cinema, because obviously Netflix bankrolled it. Is that not the same risk? Did Amazon though bankroll this, so essentially they're releasing it because they've... I mean, it comes to people to take out Prime for 1 month just to watch it or whatever.
That's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if, like, certain films now you'd know better, but whether there's films that just instead of actually going to the cinema, Amazon or Netflix or whatever, or Disney or whatever, just pay an absolute fortune to put it on their streaming site before instead of going to a cinema, and then they make their money that way. I didn't know. It might just be complete nonsense that I've just said there, but
no, you'll be idea.
I think that'll apply to a lot of things. Like The Irishman's a very good example. Do you mean like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino back together again, Scorsese movie? But I certainly don't think it applies to this. I'll put it that way.
But see, even like movies that are in the cinema now, you can get them on Sky already. So I know I messaged in the chat as a campaign, and I'm going to publicly out it here, hopefully, so that it's the next movie that we review. But Barbie is out in Sky Cinema now, free to watch if you're a Sky customer as of tomorrow. So, and that was only in cinema a couple months ago, or it was still there.
No, longer than that.
No, you're
it was just
5 months ago.
Because the two films were so successful with the box office, they just felt like they were at the cinema for an eternity.
Aye.
I'm sure when we were growing up, it used to be a whole year before it was allowed to come out on DVD. And then it was another year after that before it was allowed to come out on Sky. And then it was fucking 5 years before it could be on like fucking ITV or whatever. Like there was actual like rules and set place.
I know, you forget like network premieres on Channel 4 and you're like, I've just took that DVD back to fucking CX to get money for it already.
Oh, who remembers going to Blockbuster? What a fucking joy that was.
It was July 23 it came out, by the way, Kel. So you were only 6 months out.
Wow.
6 months, we're in March.
So
no, 6 months out for your shout. So it was 9 months.
Yeah. See, that's not too bad. I think it'd still been in a cinema somewhere a month ago. Must have been. But Blockbuster was an experience. You spent longer choosing the movie that you wanted to watch that weekend than actually watching the movie. You would go in there for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Did you still have like the console Blockbuster video driving?
We had video driving in Stennismuir. It was excellent. And you would spend ages and ages and ages picking something and see if you didn't like it. Tough shit, 'cause you're all the way home now. You've got to watch it. I mean, and then you forget to take it back and it's actually cost you an extra fucking 10 quid by the time you watch this shit film.
When it was VHSs and you forgot to rewind it when you had it back and you got fucking fined for that too.
Did they fine you for that?
Yeah. The police used to fine you for not rewinding it.
See, because I never really watched films, I just used to go in and you could rent like PlayStation or Xbox games or maybe Mega Drive games, however long ago it was, play them for the weekend and be like, that's enough, we'll just take it back now instead of fucking it, whatever.
That was good actually, because
back in the day.
You find now that a lot of games you actually can finish them in a couple of days and you're like, oh, I'm
exactly,
done with that. So it was perfect for that.
Destroy them, aye.
Blockbuster, fucking. Remember before Netflix would come, I think it was Love Film.
Love Film. And they would post the DVD to your house and you would watch it and you had to post it back. What a fucking terrible concept when you think about it. Eh? But I'm sure Netflix originally did that as well. They would post out the DVDs of it as well.
I remember having the subscription for Love Film for ages, and like you'd have a DVD and you would go into your account and you were only allowed to have one or two at a time depending on your account, and you'd forget to post it back, so you had to extend it for another week so you couldn't get another film. Oh, it was a lot of pressure.
Too much for DVDs, man.
And now Netflix is awful because I spend about an hour or two looking for a film between Netflix, Amazon, and Disney. And I can never find. There's so many films that I spend half an hour into, and I'm like, nah, I'm not even going to finish this one. I started one today with fucking the boy Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter, in some Nazi undercover FBI thing. After 20 minutes, I'm constantly swearing. I just couldn't take to him because I was like, this is Harry Potter. What's he swearing for?
Nazi undercover FBI. That sounds like 3 different movies, Kyle.
Oh, it was definitely the one movie. I'm going to find it because I can't even remember the name of it. But I started another one earlier that I wanted to watch because I wanted to watch it because Ian Wright's in it.
As in footballer?
Ian Wright. We talked about that on his podcast with Gino.
Aye. I couldn't remember the name of it though. Is it?
It's called The Kitchen.
It's just recently out, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a straight to Netflix thing. I've watched about 45 minutes of it and I turned it off because I had no idea what was going on. And the only input I've seen of Ian Wright so far is he basically sounds like he plays like a radio host, but he's called the Lord, and I didn't really get it, so I just scrapped it.
But actually, what's overlap? I was going to say like maybe we should watch it, but after that, definitely not.
Glowing review.
No, Kyle's just not been paying attention. He's been failing as Rosenborg manager is what he's been doing at the time. Currently trying unsuccessfully to topple Bodo Glimt at the top of the league.
Bodo Glimt are giants, mate. They shall not be topped.
That needs to be the next podcast, us discussing our football manager saves. That's the next thing we need to start
6 seasons I've done it across 2 different teams. I've not won a league yet.
No, you're not on your 6th season. You're not finished your 6th season yet. Have some faith in yourself.
Starting the next one. I've got it.
Nothing's away to pastures new. You've got a chance.
When we take over Chicago Fire next, I've got this one in the back.
Roadhouse, though, eh? Good film. What do you think?
So, let's talk about Roadhouse then. So ex-UFC fighter Dalton takes a job as a bouncer at the Florida Keys Roadhouse, only to discover that the paradise is not all as it seems. Who wants to kick off with their thoughts on Roadhouse?
Burnsy.
So Burnsy, have you seen the original Roadhouse?
I thought you were going to say, have I seen this Roadhouse? I was going to say,
Well, as of this morning, you hadn't.
no. No, I hadn't seen the original Roadhouse either. Because I said to you, I think it came out the year I was born. I was just like, nah, can't be bothered watching this. So you just can tell me whether it's, because obviously it is a remake, so I don't know if it's like really similar or whether there's a lot of differences or anything like that. Because if it was just like quite similar, I would find that really boring too. But no, I thought it was pretty average. Like, did enjoy parts, but other parts were a bit boring. Could have done a bit more backstory, I thought, with his UFC career, because it kind of just like threw wee bits in here and there instead of just giving you either a bit of a backstory at the very start or going off and showing you maybe bits of his career. And because you just sort of heard he'd obviously left and found out he'd killed his pal in the ring and whatever, but he didn't really give you any depth of it or like how he felt after it, if there was what was going on before it. It just kind of just thought, all right, we're just going to concentrate on the main story now.
So I'm going to probably compare a lot of this to the previous Roadhouse as well. The previous Roadhouse gives you no backstory whatsoever.
Right.
But you know that he killed someone. You do know that he killed someone in the past. But yeah, similar that what Kyle was going to say. It's similar that it doesn't give you much of before. Then I quite like that. I don't give a fuck. I mean,
I think as well is that they could have, even if, I think the big problem with I found with this is they sort of went into a lot of different stories without focusing on one. So they had the UFC bit.
Mm-hmm.
They had the bits about that he was getting friendly with the dad and the daughter. They got the bits about them training people at the bar. They had a bit of his romance with the doctor. They had kind of if there's anything else they had, but they just seemed to like try and chuck everything into the film, and then obviously had all the action parts as well. Whereas I wanted to sort of be given a bit more insight into him as a person, his past life or his current life, instead of just trying to cover far too many parts. And obviously had the bits with the cops as well, which was needed obviously for the overall part of the story, but it just seemed a bit all over the place. I thought at points in terms it just jumped from one place to another. Like I did follow it completely. It wasn't a difficult film to do that with. And I know I made a comment in our chat earlier about Conor McGregor in it, because I think that first scene when he comes in, I was just like, oh my god.
Wait. Oh my god, while you were wanking over these bare arse. Is that what
let's park Conor McGregor for now, and we'll come back to it as a separate section to talk about on its own, because I feel like that's got a lot to discuss.
Okay.
Agreed. But I agree with you. What I was going to say there, Burnsy. The thing I agree with you about with this one is it could have been streamlined a wee bit. Like, I mean, they spent a few unnecessary scenes hinting about a crocodile just so that a crocodile could eat somebody for no come on. Shit like that was pretty bad. And then it just felt a wee bit like they could have kept it going in one particular direction a wee bit, whereas nothing ever seemed to follow. It was like a fucking drug-induced dream that somebody had came up with for this movie. Somebody that was really fucking high watched Roadhouse and went, I can do this fucking better. What if there was a fucking crocodile? And then just goes on to all this random shit.
Just when you mentioned about the drug part as well, is that they mention about this drug empire and how they've got all the money, but they don't delve into that either. They just say, oh, the guy's in jail who was in charge of it. So like, what's going on with it now? They say his son's running it, but you just see like screeds of money, and that's like, you don't see anything other than that. So it's like, well, how does it actually? Where are they getting the drugs from? Who are they selling it? Who's the dealer? Like, just anything. Just saying, they'd be as well just saying this boy's loaded and he's got loads of money. He's going to take over the city. There was no need for the drug part to be included. Because then I was thinking when I was watching it, I was like, have I missed something where they've actually went into that? Because if you're going to mention it, at least give us something instead of just saying, well, he's a big drug dealer, so he's got loads of cash. Just say he was like born into loads of money, he's got loads of cash, and he just wants to be a dick and just take over places and sell it to all the rich folk if you want to do that.
No, you're spot on. There is so much inconsistency around the story. So I'm going to set the stall at first by saying I enjoyed this. I think this is the type of movie that I've already watched it twice. I could watch it a couple of more times because it's just mindless shite all put into a movie that looks quite cool. I quite like the action scenes and the fighting scenes in it. But my issue with it is the storyline and the storytelling of it is shit, right? So obviously, if we take it step by step, so he turns up to fight fucking Post Malone in this little underground brawl thing. That's fine. I can forgive that. Nothing really happens after that. He gets stabbed, and it shows he's a hard man. He doesn't really care. He's no fear of death. But then he goes to kill himself and have like fucking suicide with the train coming to hit him. So he sat there in that car and he's waiting for this train to come. Last minute he's decided not to. That just, none happens after that with that part of the story. Like, why was he suicidal? Is he still suicidal? Like, that could have been a depthy story. That, for me, at that point there is when they start telling you about him killing his best pal in the UFC and what just turned him this way, when he just leads this life where he goes here, there, and everywhere for short periods of time. You didn't need all the other bullshit.
No.
You could have had that as a story.
I think you're spot on, right? And it just doesn't seem to ever connect the dots. It's like, here's a wee idea, and here's a wee idea, and here's a wee idea. None of it ever seems to go anywhere. And like, so because of that, and this is what, and I'm going to set my stall out as well, saying I thought it was quite fun, right? And there's quite a few positives and things I quite enjoyed, right? But ultimately, what this lacks, and we'll do the comparison to the first Roadhouse, right? You don't feel any connection between him and any of the characters.
Yeah.
At any point, like, so, like, even the wee lassie with the bookstore and that, like, he gets off the bus, and suddenly she's just like, "Oh, hiya," and like they're best pals. Like, and then he turns up somewhere else. "Oh, you can stay in this boat," and then he turns up somewhere else. It's like, "Oh, hiya," like, and everyone just seems to, like, everywhere he goes, it's just like he's like an exposition machine, and like parts of the story just unfold round about him spontaneously, and people start interacting with him. It's almost like he's a computer game character, and the rest are side characters. But when you walk close enough, they start coming alive and talking to you, like when you're in GTA. And that's where it kind of lost it for me. I didn't really feel any connection between him and anybody. So by the end, when he goes on his big murderous rampage, it didn't feel justified to me. Whereas in the original Roadhouse, you saw him like fall in love with the Doctor and having fucking dirty sex with the Doctor out on the roof, and like how much, and all that like emotional connection that he built up over time. So then when all this shit happened, he was like, "Oh yes, that's why he's turned, and now he's going to fucking kill everybody." Whereas with this one, Jake Gyllenhaal played it, and I quite like how he played it. He played it like he was almost like he had a bit of a mental issue, like a bit of learning disability almost, and he was just like very, very placid all the way through. And Jake Gyllenhaal seems like he's phoned this in a wee bit, and he's like, "I'm just going to fucking arse along and be Jake Gyllenhaal and chat away to people." And I just didn't really feel anything else afterwards. I didn't really care.
What didn't make sense to me with Jake Gyllenhaal was the flashback scenes of with him in the UFC, where he's really animated and aggressive, and he's in his face, and they had a lot of character and a lot of excitement, and then he's just this placid, nice guy who can kick the shit out of you. And I feel like he was playing like it blurs the line between like action and comedy a lot in this movie, because it's like the scene where he's telling them, "Well, where's the hospital?" and you didn't want to do it, and they slapping them, and that's quite cool, quite funny if you kept that persona the whole way. Yeah. So like if his flashback was he just happened to have to fight his best pal and he accidentally went too far and killed him, didn't have it that that's your best pal, but you're also hating him in the build up. Like, that is a whole separate story that didn't go in line with the rest of the movie.
Just leave it alone. Just say he accidentally killed someone in the ring. He killed somebody in the octagon, sorry. And now he feels fucking terrible about it. It gave him like PTSD about fighting or whatever, and that's why he is how he is. That's what I would have done. Just leave it alone.
Just before you go in, Burns, but that's, see, Patrick Swayze's Dalton had that. He had the fear that he was going to kill somebody, which is why he was such a talented fighter that held back, because he was scared of killing someone else. Whereas Jake Gyllenhaal was a lot more like just loose with it. Like, I'll just kick shit at you. He knew exactly how to break things, and that was all cool. And I quite liked those scenes where he flaunts his intelligence to the fighting scene where he can just snap arms and fingers and all that shit. But he should have that fear that he's going to go too far with somebody.
Yeah, that just didn't seem to be there. Sorry, Burnsy.
I was going to say is like when you were saying about you didn't feel any sort of chemistry between or any relationship built with the characters. The only one I thought is that seemed to show on screen was him with the dad and the daughter. And obviously you could see at the end when they were going that he sort of cared for them and things like that. But I completely agree with that. And also it's like I did actually enjoy it. I know I've sort of just berated it, but I think it's all up to do with the story because it could have been so much better. I think the UFC scene, the cut scenes I had, like I don't watch UFC or that, but I thought they were quite a good addition. But then it was as if they sort of limited that really short, like I said before, instead of going further into it. When Kel was saying about how he's obviously his personality just completely changed, it's like either show how it's changed after he's had the fight and his downward spiral, or like you say, just don't have that change. But obviously, like I said, I've not watched the first one, but do you think that's maybe because they're trying to do some differences between the first one and this one, and then they thought, right, we'll just shove that in there, and they've not really thought about how the film goes after it, and they just thought we need to do something instead of just making it a carbon copy of the original?
See, I think they could have made it more of a copy of the original because they're using the term Roadhouse and they're cashing in on that there. I feel like they ultimately could have had two different movies here. Like if they went down that UFC route, he's killed somebody, he's become depressed, he does underground fighting to earn money to get a living. He's ultimately got a big death wish at some point. That would have been a movie in its own. And then have the Roadhouse bit where he just spawns in as Dalton, who's a well-known cooler. Because what annoyed me with this is the whole Roadhouse thing in Dalton is that he is the guy that controls and turns around the bar and makes it successful, right?
Yeah.
They didn't explain any of that. So he did. One of the best scenes in the original Roadhouse is Patrick Swayze. He's got all his staff there. And he fires Terry Funk and he fires at other people that are in the arseholes. He identifies all the problems and he trains them on how to. There was none of that. Other than him telling that guy to one. If somebody pulls a knife in, you stand back and then punch him in the face. That's definitely getting you stabbed.
It's that simple, eh? Just lean back.
Well, what makes me laugh about that is Jake Gyllenhaal gets stabbed at the start of the movie.
But he almost wanted to be stabbed at the start of the movie. I feel like that's when he was in his suicidal zone, to be fair. I will give them that. I won't slag them too much. But that's.
I feel like they should have had that scene where there's one or two bad eggs within the bar that he gets rid of, and he tells them he's stand up, because he doesn't even explain the whole take them outside thing. He does it by saying, "Is that your bikes?" And then walks out and I'll follow him. He should then went back in and been like, "The reason I done that was because of this, and this is what you should do." And that leads into the training.
Yeah.
And then give us 5 minutes of the training, right? And take 5 minutes out of them fucking jet skiing across the water in the boats. I didn't need that. I didn't need them rescuing the damsel in distress from the bottom of the boat, like him stealing the cop's boat and blowing it. I didn't need that.
None of it. Hunter's been very quiet here, and I think I know why. Do you enjoy this, Hunter?
No, you're thinking I'm going to either be balls deep, or I don't know if you go there, but
whatever you want, man.
Right, fucking Patterson. I was planning to obviously had been on last week, so I'd watched the original before watching this one, and for me, the original is like it's a quintessential 80s film. Like, just leave it as it is. Like, who in their right mind just think, what part of that story or that thing, you know what, this would be great to redo 25 years later.
It's wild, isn't it? And like, I think the point these are sort of, both of you and Kyle are sort of skirting around is really this should have just been a different film with a different name.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because they've gave just enough little bits for the old movie to go, oh, that's kind of for the old movie, and oh, that's kind of for the old movie. But in reality, it's fuck all like it. The character's nothing alike, and the whole point. And this is the point I said to Kyle last week that I was worried about, is that the whole thing and why it's so funny to me in the original is that Dalton is known all over America apparently as like the number one bouncer. It's like the number one bouncer, like that's a fucking thing. Top of the bouncer league. And he's like a specialist bouncer, and that's like the whole point, right? Roadhouse is about a bouncer. It's like Over the Top is about arm wrestling, and Rocky's about boxing, and there's a certain theme that the film's about, right? This is about bouncers. That's what it's meant to be about, and this one just was about an ex-UFC fighter that kind of got caught up in some trouble, which is not the same film, really, is it? It's a totally
different. It's not even that. Like in the first Roadhouse, like as you're saying, he's the guy you want. The lassie for the new one isn't even wanting him to start. She's wanting Post Malone until.
Aye.
She didn't even know this guy exists.
And then where's she got $5,000 a week to give him? Like, I'm going to give you $5,000 a week for 4 weeks. She's actually the weakest character, isn't she? Because you never really understand her motivations apart from like one line later on. She says, "Oh, I should have told you he wanted to buy the fucking Roadhouse." Like, come on, the fuck! Like, it doesn't really make any sense anywhere.
So, like, she's going to afford to pay $5,000 a week for a bar that's struggling because fights keep breaking out, fires keeps happening. All this shit keeps happening in the bar every night that she needs it cleaned out, but you can still afford to pay $5,000 a week, plus let him stay on that boat free of charge. That she's nobody able to sell the boat as a pile of shite.
And how much damages she's having to cover.
Yeah.
Also, it's not as if it's a small bar. I'm sure like more than one fight could break out at a time. What's he going to do unless he's trained those folk up? He's just going to be able to break up one fight and then the rest is just going to turn into carnage.
But see, like, even that, right? The realistic, how do you think about this realistically? That it looks as if it's like a small area, whatever this is, whatever part of the is in Florida. You see, if you were in that bar one night and it all kicked off, you're like, "Oh, fuck, gone back there." Yeah. Yet everyone still keeps piling in the same faces every single night after night.
This might stir up some shit with some people that listen to this, right? And if you are one of these people, then I don't give a fuck, right? But nobody that's ever turned up anywhere on a motorbike is actually a hard man. Everyone I've ever known with a motorbike is a middle-aged dad going through a midlife crisis who wants to have a fucking motorbike, right? Or just like a fucking weird wee guy. It's not like it is in films where motorbike gangs are all fucking really hard men fighters. See if a bunch of cunts turned up on motorbikes want to fight, fuck off, man. They're always fucking weirdos. I never buy into that guys with motorbikes are somehow hard. Like, no chance, man. It's never that way. And then when they all turn up on the motorbikes and go in, it's just a bit cliched a wee bit, I think. We've been going with that for 40 years thinking like guys hard.
What's the things that is hard? Like, what's scarier? What about the motorbike makes it he can throw a punch because he can ride a motorbike? what's the fucking what's it equality? What's the fucking linearity? That's what I'm looking for between ability to ride a motorbike, ability to throw a punch and take one. There's nothing.
There's nothing there. Don't get it. But the guys were all pussies. The initial group were all too much like pussies. Like, there needed to be a wee bit of obviously you need that to be a point where Conor McGregor, and we'll come back, Kyle, is a step above them. You need there to be that extra level, right? But they were such like hapless idiots. And like, there's that one wee guy that I think was supposed to be a running joke, but I never really found it funny. The guy
is he meant to be the same as the big guy for Roadhouse 1? Remember, there's the guy at the end of the bear statue.
The bear falls on him.
Aye, I think he was meant to be the new version of him.
Maybe, but I mean, at least in the old one, they were all kind of antagonistic towards Dalton. I mean, they all did want to get. Whereas that wee guy just seemed. I know it was supposed to be a joke. Maybe I just didn't get it. But like every scene, I could see it. I'm thinking I'm supposed to be laughing here, but I don't understand what they're going for. It just seemed like a bit of a wee dweeb that was part of the group.
Yeah.
Strange. And then the thing is as well, sorry, is before you just carry on, Kyle, the other bits that happened in between, right, it was never the main group coming back again and always fighting them off again and fighting them off again. Random other shit would be happening in the bar with random unrelated stories, and it didn't ever seem to fucking mean anything. That's my main purpose with this. None of it meant anything. I've
watched the movie twice now. At what point is this boy that he goes and hires as the second bouncer? What point does he do anything to merit that?
Yes.
That's been cut, that scene.
Must have been. Yeah. Because he goes to see him at the beach. He works at the beach house or something like that, selling snorkels or some bullshit. And he goes, "Oh, you've got cuts in your knuckles." He goes, "Oh, I used to box." He goes, "Do you still hit the bag?" And he goes, "Yeah." Next scene, he's a bouncer.
But
he didn't comment that. So go on, Kyle.
He mentions about helping the night before, but I feel like I've never seen that scene.
No,
I didn't see it either.
His other barman says, thanks for their help or something like that. And there's just like, aye, they follow. Oh, you've got a job if you want it. Like there was no fucking.
Oh, it didn't make sense. What doesn't make sense to me, and this might just be because we're in the UK and American bars might be different, but why is there such an attachment to these staff that work in this bar? The girl that goes to his boat and she's like, oh, I was going to leave, but then you came and you're going to save it. You're probably in the minimum wage in a bar that can't make any money here. Like, why are you hanging about?
I just assumed she found him attractive and wanted to sleep with him.
Oh.
But then there was the same in the first Roadhouse Day. There was the lassie for the bar who just turns up the next day with breakfast for him. It was like they've stole that scene. It was like, oh, this is a scene that we need to put in the next one. But then that he still, at least in Roadhouse 1, Patrick Swayze's daughter had a bit of a relationship and a camaraderie and friendship all through the film. Fucking Gyllenhaal's daughter, I don't even speak to that last again through the rest of the film after that one interaction.
Again, and this is why to me it shouldn't be Roadhouse.
Yeah.
This could be called anything else. I think what's happened here is Jake Gyllenhaal and the director have become pals with Conor McGregor. And it's like, how do we get him in a movie that's going to sell? Oh, Ronda Rousey was supposed to do Roadhouse, so let's get Conor McGregor from the UFC in. I feel like they could have made any other movie that would have the same impact as this one as calling it Roadhouse. Before we move on to discuss Conor McGregor, I wanted to talk about Ben Brandt, the main bad guy.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Terrible. Again, you needed to have more, like, I was instantly disengaged, right, when he was getting the shave on the boat, right?
Oh.
Now, I quite like the concept of a guy that's so mental that the boat's bouncing up and down and the guy's like, you sure want me to shave you? He's like, just fucking shave me, right? And then if he cuts him, he would fucking kill him, right? See if at that point, the first time he got cut, he maybe went, oh, it's all right, pal. Didn't you worry, right? Just you sort it out. And then he cuts him the second time. He should be off the side of the fucking boat.
No.
But he gets up and goes and punches the guy that's driving the boat. I don't know. I didn't buy into him in the slightest at any point. Like, it was
is that not the same bit where he's doing that? He's getting the shave, and then his dad phones the big bad boss dad, and he flings his phone in the
That's a bit
ocean.
later.
That was later, but funny.
But for that character arc, right? So he either had to be exactly what you said, Daniel, where he was ruthless enough. For me, what I wanted from there is Conor McGregor to be his henchman. Conor McGregor then gets killed, and then the final fight is with Brandt.
But no, you wait. So I was waiting for this. That's contradicting what we said in the last one, because you were saying the final fight should be against the best fighter. So I was going to say that they've done that better this time. That the final fight shouldn't be against a pussy who can't fight. Yeah. The final fight should be against the best fighter. So
what I'm saying is I didn't want him to be the pussy. I wanted him to be the mentalist. So the fact that he wasn't, then it makes sense to have Conor as the end battle. But from that scene there where he's getting the shave, he was calm, a bit mental, horse him overboard, and then you stamp your authority, right? His dad is obviously the mate, like a big drug lord somewhere. He's threw the phone in the water and that. I would much rather he died a lot earlier and the dad came into it at some point.
Yes, I was expecting that. This is what I was waiting on. I was expecting at some point to at least see the dad, and I thought it was going to be some cameo with some fucking cool old actor. That's what I was thinking it might have been. Like, even as your guy, is anyone for the original film still fucking alive? Do you know what I mean? Like some sort of ode to an old 80s thing of like an old bad bastard that could have been the main bad guy. But the fact that he was just like you didn't even hear his voice, did you?
No.
He just
Did you know hear him? Did you know phone Conor McGregor?
I think you only heard Conor McGregor's side of the conversation, though. I don't think you heard what he was.
I'm sure you heard the dad. Listen, you just hit the quick call. He's like, whatever his name was. I'm pretty sure you heard him, but again, that was it.
But that's it. Aye.
Yeah.
And I think it just, to me, there was no need to have the dad in prison. Just have the boss and have him get Conor McGregor in. You didn't need the extra layer of like the main guy being missing, because it didn't add anything to the story, I don't think. Like in the original Roadhouse, it was an old man, wasn't it? And I suppose the way they're doing it this time is that same character's the one that's in prison, and it's just all the other folk that are dealing with it. But one thing that I think they've lost a tick is Again, I think they might have done it just to get a crocodile into the movie, but see when he, see when he sends the guy to kill Jake Gyllenhaal, right? And he fails, obviously, but he fails by getting eaten by a crocodile. He should fail and have to go back and explain that he's failed, and then maybe ruthlessly get shot in the fucking forehead, and then you know the guy means business. Do you know what I mean? That's like, but at no point do you ever feel like Jake Gyllenhaal would ever be in danger for this guy.
Or if you have to keep the crocodile in the film, Ben Brandt has that crocodile as a pet and then feeds him to the crocodile.
Yes, yes. That you should be writing this fucking movie. That would be much better. That gets your crocodile and the fucking meaning.
I just thought it just came across as really quite pathetic. Really, just didn't have any. Even like when they were talking about Conor McGregor coming back, it was as if he was feared at him. Whereas, like, you'd expect this. Obviously, he's not the main druggle because that's his father. But if he's given him like all his business and said, right, you run it and whatever, like you'd imagine he's going to have some level of authority in terms of not just being. You can imagine he's just going to get walked over if somebody has got like a lot of balls that just stands up to him, because he wouldn't stand up for himself. And even just with a bit on the phone as well, when you mentioned about that, it's like, so he basically says, oh, I don't like what you're saying, I'm just going to chuck my phone away, as if he's like a bratty kid. It's like, stand up for yourself and just say to that, no, you're in jail, get yourself the fuck, I'm going to control this, and I'm going to prove you're wrong, not just chuck your phone away as if like, oh, that's not very nice, I'm not playing anymore. You know what I mean? It was embarrassing.
I think, see the part where Knox is at the wee house, the wee run down his fuck shitty house for the multimillionaire, and the guy said to him, "Oh, like let me do it. I'm going to do this a diplomatic way," and then Knox like, "Okay, I'll leave you to it." At that point, they should be bringing back the people that failed, and Knox kills them
or something like that. Yeah.
He grabs the first one, choke hold, snaps his neck, and then I don't know, roundhouse kicks the next one because. Do a big fancy roundhouse kick and he breaks the guy's neck up. Just something to show Conor McGregor's skill before he goes into the bar to have that first fight. Would have made it a little bit better.
We are complaining, right? I wanted to talk, before I talk about the good stuff, because there was some stuff that I did enjoy, right? But there was 3 or 4 moments in this, I don't know if you guys noticed, where they used some terrible CGI. Like when the guy tries to hit him with a tuck on the bridge, and they go off the side into the water, it just suddenly turned into a big computerized fucking car and looked fucking awful. Like, I don't think a movie like this needed any CGI whatsoever, but there was a handful of times where there was just like this really horrible, cheap CGI just came from nowhere, and it just sort of managed to take me a wee bit out of what was going on, and that's another thing that just really bothered me. But it's good fun though, eh?
So let's come on to Conor McGregor now, right? Because I feel like, for me, this is where the positives start coming in a lot more, because I thought he was fucking excellent. Like, but I'm looking at this as a quintessential 80s movie, just like Hunter said. It is, if you take an 80s action movie, it's over the top, cheesy one-liners, overacting to the max with really bad accents, and I think he nails the part he's been given to play. He's been given to play a psychotic fighter, and that's it. He's just nuts. Nothing really matters or nothing really cares, and I feel like he's got that absolutely spot on. He's from that deranged smile that he's got in his face the whole way through the movie. The fact that he keeps that for pretty much all of the film, I think is brilliant. And his accent's fun, and I think they must have dubbed in his lines.
So I think they dubbed in most people's lines, because I started noticing the poor sound editing when Dalton first had the conversation with the little lassie outside the bookshop. I don't know if the way it was filmed on set, like the scene, it was too fucking windy or whatever with the sound, and they had to redo it.
There was a hurricane going through the Dominican Republic at the time they were filming this movie.
That makes sense, right? Because it looked like multiple scenes were redone in terms of the sound, and they never quite synced up with their lips to make it look any good, because I was starting to think it was going to be horrific at that first scene when he was talking to that wee lassie. I was like, I'm going to struggle to watch this if everything looks like this. It was like a badly dubbed foreign movie almost at times.
When you watch like a household cleaning product that's like on sale in Europe, but you can tell they're speaking French or Spanish.
Yeah.
Not because he's speaking English on your television.
It's a Spanish person doing it, but we've got Kerry Katona's voice over the top. But I'm going to back you up, right? I'm going to half back you up and half disagree with you. I think Conor McGregor was actually pretty good, right? I think he was let down by poor writing, and that's kind of where it kind of went away, right? See when he first jumped out of that window, and this is where Burnsley didn't like it, so I'm interested to see what you thought, right? But he first jumped out of that window and he was walking, and then suddenly it pans out and he's just walking in the scud and he doesn't give a fuck. And then he sticks the heat in the guy and steals his jacket and all that. I thought that was fucking excellent. It really was good. But by the end, when they'd been with the boat and back into the big fight scene, it had all just got a bit of like a big mess. I feel like he'd just become a bit out of his depth. And I just think he didn't have any good dialogue written for him. But I was actually surprised by how well he came across on screen. See if we'd never heard of Conor McGregor, if he wasn't a famous UFC guy and that was just the bad guy, I would have believed it just as much, if not more, than any of the other actors in the film. And that was what I tried to take when I was watching it. I tried to pretend that, okay, I didn't know who this guy is. Let's imagine he was just an unknown actor. And I thought he came across pretty well. I thought he was pretty good at the part. I was ready to slag him off because, I think he's a fucking bellend. Like, honestly, like, as a human being, he's a fucking disgusting human being.
He's the cunt's cunt, that's what he is.
He's the cunt's cunt, absolute cunts like him, and he's a cunt. The cunt's cunt, that's the name of the podcast. Nailed. But I think that should have made me dislike the character as well, but I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought he was pretty good. It was better than 90% of the other folk in the movie, I felt. So I was pleasantly surprised. But Burnsy, you fucking hated it, didn't you? But Conor.
Well, I messaged him. I didn't message Conor McGregor.
You messaged him after that first scene, eh?
I said that was fucking howling. And no, it's like the first scene in that, when I saw him, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be a tough watch. But after he got away from that part and was actually in amongst it, I thought it was pretty good. But I think to me, like, you'll know a lot. You always know a lot better in terms of what he's like as a person, like when he's at UFC and all that kind of stuff. To me, it seemed as if when he was playing as Conor McGregor in terms of his mannerisms. So obviously it came across really well because that was him just being himself. So like when he's like pulling those faces, being sarcastic, being a cunt basically, like riling people up, being like obviously the people that are around him just saying that they're hopeless as well and he's the main man and all this kind of stuff. That's what whenever I've seen like wee clips of UFC, he does come across as if he's better than everyone. That's what his mannerisms are to me. So I think for him, that role was actually pretty good because he was playing himself quite a lot at the time too. But I do agree with you, Daniel, in terms of like there wasn't really many scenes in terms of his dialogue that I thought, oh, he's nailed that kind of thing. But I thought it's when he was just the way it was like standing there or his facial expressions and all that kind of thing. I think they were pretty spot on, which I was surprised at how good he was. I don't know if I'm assuming this is his first film, but I guess as well when you get into like UFC's more turn into it now. When you're doing like that or WWE, it is acting to an extent as well. And he has made UFC in his press conferences and that more about a show.
Yeah.
But obviously what this is linked to as well. So I think obviously his background for that's definitely helped, even though he's never actually acted before, because although he's not trying to sell a fight, he's trying to sell the film to you and make it maybe over exaggerate what he needed to make it more box office, I guess. So no, I was actually quite impressed with him especially after the first screen, but I thought it was going to be a heap of nonsense.
I don't think he's been helped with the dubbing.
Yeah.
I think because he's got a distinctive accent, and I feel like he was putting an accent on, and I think his scenes seem a lot more dubbed than anybody else's because we know his voice, we know what to expect from him. So I don't think that's...
Because obviously his accent when he speaks normally is very thick Irish, and I think he's been told to not whatever. The know we would say like the Queen's English, and obviously you don't say that in Ireland because they don't like British people. So whatever the Irish are going to speak, like the Irish English, whatever that is, to make it sound, he's pronouncing every word where he normally wouldn't do that. And I guess obviously because of the target audience is obviously worldwide, that his English needs to be understandable for those that English isn't their first language. So that's how he's been told.
Yeah.
Go and rein it in a bit with the fucking slangs, or Irish ones he wants to drop in here and there.
I will say though, the fight scenes were fucking excellent in this, especially if you compare them to the last Roadhouse. And that was one of my biggest issues with Roadhouse original, was the fight scenes weren't great. Now, I thought they were brilliant in this. And Conor McGregor looked really, really good, as you would expect, being an ex-champion of the UFC. But him and Jake Gyllenhaal's fight scenes seemed really believable. And there's the parts where, like, in the first fight scene, where he attacks, he headbutts Jake Gyllenhaal and he hits him again, and then Jake Gyllenhaal hits a punch back and catches his mouth, and you see the shock in his face that he's been hit and his blood coming. And I felt like that was a good, solid fight that they kept having throughout it.
It was decent. I think some of the, and this might have been on purpose because slapstick was a word we used last week for the original one. Some of the bar fights were a bit like slapstick style. And I feel like they tried to do that a wee bit in this one. I think, again, it's like trying to do too many things, having too many things, spinning too many plates. But the bar fights that didn't involve the main characters, so basically all the fights with the unnamed people at the bar where they were going to break them up, were all pretty poor.
Yeah, they didn't need them at all.
And they didn't have, but then you sort of need them to have the bouncer aspect. Do you mean? And this is where this film's doing too many things. Because if there's no random fights going on at the bar, then why does she need to hire the bouncer to come and fucking sort out the bar? So you need to show that there's all these random fights going on. But they weren't very good, but they weren't so bad that they were funny. So it was just kind of a bit boring. Like that one where it became the huge bar fight and it was massive and everyone was going at it and it was just a bit daft. And then Conor was in the middle of it. All that stuff just felt a bit tame, too tame to be serious and too stupid. Not stupid enough, sorry, to be funny, and it was just kind of in between. I was really bored at those bits, which again, it's because they didn't lean enough into the whole bouncer aspect. That should have been the training aspect to everyone getting to learn how to be bouncers.
Yeah, what you're saying, Daniel, they need their fights, but they don't, because I'm basically implying that some sort of fucking B-Tech Sons of Anarchy are coming in and terrorising the place at the start. That you didn't even really need fights to be happening every single week with caged fucking music acts like they did in the first one, because there's a story there, there's a gang fucking running amok in the town, and that should just be it. That could be enough to be it.
They should have just called this movie Bar Fight. This movie should have been called Bar Fight, and that's it. Make it a different movie. And then
going back to what you were saying about I get what you mean in terms of needed to have maybe more fights, but like just because a gang's fighting doesn't mean that, say we were all out and you're in a big massive pub, say if a gang starts fighting, it doesn't mean that everyone in the bar just starts fighting each other too.
That's
what it was like. It's like you can have like different fights on every night or whatever, and maybe just a couple of them to show there is other stuff going on that's not just gangs.
Is this film no based on an infamous night at the toll booth? Is this no like it's based on? No.
Shutterhouse, that's what it's called.
Shutterhouse.
Shutterhouse, 2 Polish vans, boys on tour. All because Jenny wanted to sing the Cheeky Girls for the 3rd time in a row.
He would deserve to get punched for that, Jerry.
Oh, but no, I do like. I enjoyed the fighting aspect of it. I complained the last one about how the techniques of the kicking in Roadhouse 1989 was pish, whereas this is spot on. So obviously this was all perfect for the fighting aspect of it, which plays into it. But to encapsulate the film as a whole, it is a perfect movie to put on in the background when you're doing something else. You don't have to give it your full attention. There's not a storyline that you really need to pay attention to. And it's a 2-hour long movie that I feel flies in. Like, to me, this was a quick 2 hours. And I watched it again today. So, yeah, it's got loads of faults. There's no real belief in the characters. Jake Gyllenhaal, the guy that he leaves the money for, and that couldn't care less about. Didn't really know anything about them. The real Lassie was pointless. The love scene, the love interest thing was pointless. That was no needed at all.
Yeah.
That was all done better in the old Roadhouse. That I think this one was just a little bit better with the fighting and the believability over that side of it.
One thing I've noticed, and this is maybe a wee sly dig at some of our Instagram pals who also review movies, right? But I feel like a lot of people are coming out and saying that this is good purely to go against the grain because loads of folk initially thought they were going to be. It was shite, right? And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's actually loads of fun, and you don't know how to have fun with a film. It's just a great fun film, right?" Come on, now, it isn't very good, right? It's not very good at all. It's not even good for its type of movie, really. I'm going to be nice about some things in it, and it's not going to be one of the worst scored films, but I need to be honest, right? It's not a good film. It's poorly put together, and there's a handful of little things that were enjoyable, but I certainly won't be watching it again. Ella started watching it with me because we were going to have a wee movie night because we never really get that opportunity, right? 15 minutes in, she went to bed. She was like, fuck this. And I think what was the term you said? You said it was cringy. Is that right? Just men fighting. She said it's just men fighting.
Stairs can get fucked.
But I don't know. I don't think I'll ever go back and watch it again. It feels a bit like Jake Gyllenhaal for Nightcrawler becoming a barman, like becoming a bouncer. Sorry, he's just like playing a weird guy, and it really isn't very good. There's too many flaws for me to say that it's any good at all. So it's going to be scored accordingly.
Don't you think though, right? And this is one thing we've always prided our scoring on is enjoyment of movies, right? And I would definitely say it's not a good movie. Don't sit and watch this movie if you're expected it to get blown away with a great performance. But I've enjoyed watching this movie a lot more than I've watched. I'm looking at the list, right? I'm scrolling down the list in movies, and I'm like, I enjoyed this more than watching Fury.
No chance.
But this. I wouldn't go and watch Fury again.
I would.
I'm just scrolling. I've enjoyed this a lot more than Inglourious Basterds.
So let's compare it to similar films, right? That's what I'm. So let's keep it in the fun action category, right? So if you think about fun action movies, I wouldn't even have it in anywhere near a decent fun action movie. I don't think it's even that. Like even like a similar. You like what's that film you fucking love with the fighting? Warrior, right? I would say it's closer to that in terms of that. I think Warrior, although I don't love it as much as you, I would go and watch that again. And it's not to be taken seriously. It's just about guys fighting, and it's a bit stupid. The fact that a guy walks in off the street and suddenly gets into a fucking MMA tournament on the telly and all this sort of shit.
He's an ex-UFC fighter.
No, he wasn't. He went to jail. He never made it. No, he wasn't.
No, he was
insane. He was the brother of the ex-UFC fighter, but
he was a wrestler
or whatever he was, right? So, but it was equally as like daft and out there, right? But that I can take as a good example. If you compare this to other similar films, and let's ultimately say we have to compare it to the original Roadhouse, which we've scored, and we know what our scores were for that. I think this is a million miles away from the fun that Roadhouse the original gives you, right? Because Roadhouse is stupid, it's a stupid concept, but that is a fun way of making a stupid movie. This, I feel like, missed the boat on making it fun by having too many convoluted stories. There was actually too much storyline going on all over the place to make me enjoy it, and it's actually tried to be more than it should instead of just sticking to being a simple, fun movie, which it could have been. So I'm judging it on that.
I'm scrolling, just randomly picking some movies out here, right, to think what's meant to be fun action fighting. Would you watch this over The Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Yes, that's the one. That's terrible.
Would you watch this over Blade?
No chance. Although Blade was shite as well, but I would watch Blade again over this.
Which is interesting because they're so close in the scoring, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Blade.
They're both shite films, but I think Blade.
Point Break.
I think it's on the Point Break level. I think my score's going to be around Point Break.
I think if this movie came out in the 80s, which it did. But I'm saying this exact version that's just come out would be the kind of movie in future time will be like, oh, nostalgia, that was great, blah, blah. Because if we went back and watched Roadhouse and we loved it, but if we were watching Roadhouse again so soon after, I don't think we'd have anywhere near the excitement.
But I think, is it not like, obviously, because obviously Swayze, I think you've got to remember Swayze's star power, as you touched on with the trivia, Swayze's star power when he made Roadhouse, even if you combine, like, he was like, I'm not saying obviously he's Conor McGregor and Jake Gyllenhaal and more wealthy, whatever, but I think possibly in the context of being an actor, or being in the UFC or whatever, that maybe at that point in time when that came out, none of this, like, they've never been as famous as Swayze maybe was during that. So that's the draw. That's how it was so successful. It's because of Swayze. It wasn't the storyline. It was because that was it. And there was the allure of maybe movies back then, because, as we discussed earlier, about the year-long wait before it gets to the cinema. Yeah. Now, as we're saying, you can just load up an app on your telly and it's there. There's no that magic is maybe gone, and that's maybe why that first one will always have a candle, because of when it came out, and obviously that time, and obviously that's maybe why Point Break. But people have got that nostalgia because of the time. Now you try to think 25 years from now that somebody's going to make fucking Roadhouse again. Are they fuck?
Maybe. But maybe to put this one right, do you mean? I mean, like I said, this movie should never have been called Roadhouse, right?
Yeah.
It should have been something else. It should have been its own movie. And if it was called the fucking Bar Fight or whatever it was called, nobody would really be talking about it, I don't think. It's got a lot of the where it is on the name. So really, this is still built on the back of Swayze, the legend that is Swayze, this whole success. Because really, if it was just a Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor movie about an ex-UFC fighter, who would really have been all that interested? Is the fact that it's a Roadhouse reboot, and it caused a bit of controversy with folk getting a bit too precious about the original one, and that's caused so many people to go the other way and get too defensive about this, going, people are taking it too seriously. And I just think you should see it for what it is, and you'll see with my score.
It's funny because I feel like when I mentioned earlier about the opening scene with Post Malone and the underground fighting, that should have been the movie where Jake Gyllenhaal goes to these places and tries to get killed because he's miserable and he's like repenting for what he'd done to his best pal, and then eventually he fights Conor McGregor as the final boss and gets killed like that. Or just fucking make Bloodsport, right? I want Bloodsport. That's what I want.
Do a Bloodsport remake. I'd love that.
Bloodsport remake. Jake Gyllenhaal plays Van Damme, and then fucking Conor McGregor plays the Asian guy that he fights at the end. That's it. That's all I need.
The guy with the giant pecs, the biggest pecs in cinema history. That guy.
Do you know what? Bring back fucking a Terry Funk style wrestler that plays the big burly guy that's Jean-Claude Van Damme's pal. I mean that would have been perfect. But yeah, I think we should come to some trivia to this. I think I'm kind of desperately trying to get this score up a little bit because I enjoyed watching it, although I know it's shite.
Yes,
but if I had the option to only watch one genre in movie or one time scale in movie for the rest of my life, it would be late 80s action movies. Roadhouse, American Ninjas, Missing in Action, all those types of movies. Give me that to watch for the rest of my life. I'd take that over fucking gangster films or Daniel Day-Lewis numbers.
100%. I agree with that, and I just think this slightly misses the mark. But I think Burnsy's kind of lost interest in the podcast, so I think we better get to some trivia and scores.
He's trying to work out his transfers.
He's trying to work out his transfers.
We've got 20 minutes. I've not even looked.
All right, we're good to go?
Go.
Yeah.
Right, so as in touching with the original one, so the restaurant next to Stephen's bookstore is named the Double Deuce Restaurant, which is also the name of the bar in the original film. And as we know, some of because it's filmed at a UFC event, there was actually a UFC 285.
Yep.
The event that they used. So during filming, Jake Gyllenhaal contracted a staph infection after cutting his hand on breakaway glass. We're going to have to know the context of this.
It's pretty serious, a staph infection that can kill you, like.
So Roadhouse was filmed almost entirely in the Dominican Republic, which doubled up for the tropical Florida Keys. The choice of location contributed to the film's exotic and dangerous backdrop.
Sound?
Yes. There was more here. So when meeting Knox refers to Dalton as the world's most notorious fighter. Also a little nod to his own nickname.
There was a couple of things that actually say there was like a couple of words that Conor McGregor used to Dalton, but it was as if he was talking about himself, and that was obviously one of them. So what else was it? Something about a ring, or we've got or Or octagon. He's mentioned something about an octagon.
Oh, he
as
said
well.
before on the octagon here when we were on the
Yeah.
boat. He was like, "How do you you don't know fucking shapes or something like that?
Who taught you shapes?
Who taught you shapes?"
Yeah. Aye, so I don't remember if this was ever touched on in the film, but this is what here in the trivia anyway. So Elwood Dalton, who's Jake Gyllenhaal's character, is the son of James Dalton, Patrick Swayze.
No,
What?
never got mentioned.
That's what it says here in the trivia. I'm like, that's not mentioned in the film at all.
No, because no, I'm not having that. That's bullshit that's been made up to sell this film. Because if that was the case, at some point when she said, "Will you come and work in my bar and be a bouncer?" He would be, "My dad was the greatest bouncer in all of America." You know what I mean? Like something. Get yourself a fuck. Because I was wondering why he had a stupid first name.
Aye, unless if that was story, he would have been the quintessential. My dad would battle your dad at the school playground.
My dad would battle your dad.
And there's
Just before
the only other last bit I've got here is something that we did touch on already, which was the remake was originally meant to be a gender swapped one with Ronda Rousey playing the Conor McGregor role, but as Kyle pointed out, Holly Holm put that to bed.
She was the undefeated big star, and this was going to be her big movie breakaway, and then she lost. So she lost the movie. The star power went from her. I just want to come back to your Elwood Dalton being the son, because Roadhouse 2, it was Dalton's son who then became a cooler. What makes this even funnier is his son in the movie is called Shane Tanner.
Right.
Who learns that his uncle Nate Tanner got beat up and then he went to become in it. What's nothing to do with fucking Dalton then, isn't it?
Right. I don't get it.
Is that Dalton's name Dalton Tanner?
So I always thought Dalton was his first name in the original.
It's his surname.
But obviously it might be his surname, that's fair enough. But I'm definitely not buying the fact that it was his son, because what they're trying to say the story is that his son somehow gets into a almost scene by scene fucking
Exactly
reenactment of his dad's life, and he falls in love with a doctor after getting stabbed at this. I mean, it's just fucking stupid, eh?
I know you never believe it happened to me. They say, "No shit, the same exact same happens to me."
That's how I met your mother, and that's it.
But even if it was his son, have the storyline similar to that in the first one, where there was a better cooler that Dalton was looking up to. Have his dad come in and show him how to do it.
I know we should have pointed to this earlier. I know we're getting cut for time soon, but that's the one thing that was missing. Sorry, was the inspirational character that he had that he looked up to that he never really had in this one. There wasn't anyone else that he leaned on. He never really got. He didn't get to bring his old mentor in to then flirt with his bird like in the first one. Do you mean you needed a bit of that? And also, if you're going to make a Roadhouse remake, where were the tits? Where was the fucking shagging? Do you mean I want to see Jake Gyllenhaal's arse? I want to see him walking about in the scud. Or you got to see Conor McGregor's arse. And to be fair, he's got a nice arse, eh? Nice bum, Conor McGregor. But
very well oiled.
He's in good nick, apart from his mental health.
A couple of nice chassis going about, but just no women's ones to look at.
It's not just for you.
Let's get scoring. This is really conflicted me all day on how I want to score this movie, and I feel like I should go first to score it.
You should,
but I'm torn between the higher scoring because I enjoy watching it versus the lower scoring because it's a shite film, and I just bottle it and go in the middle somewhere. But
go with how you feel. Just go with how you feel.
I'm going to go higher than the middle, and I'm going to give this a 3.25 out of 5 because I feel I will go back and watch this again.
Will this be your new Moneyball?
The new Moneyball, aye.
I've not watched Moneyball in a while, actually. I might put that. Bonzi, I feel you're at the opposite end of the spectrum for me, mentally.
Watching the film or in general. No, I did enjoy it, but there was a lot of nonsense throughout it. So I'm going to give it 2.
That was spur of the moment there. You hadn't even thought of that until you came out your mouth there.
I was at 1.75 and the last one I went up by 0.25.
Okay, Hunter.
Going to go slightly high. Again, you go in expecting shite, so when you get delivered shite, you don't get let down. But you said there are some aspects that you can enjoy and appreciate, because if you enjoyed the first one, this is you was not let down because you know it's going to be a big cheese fest. Anyway, I'm going to go 2.25.
I didn't think I was going to be the lowest, but the more we've talked about it, the more I need to be true to myself, and I'm going to give it a 1.
Fucking loser.
I'll never watch it again, and you always say, Kyle, like that's one of your things. Would you ever watch it again? And I've got no desire to ever watch this again, but I will watch Roadhouse again, the original.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Bonzi, what does that do to the overall scoring?
2.13.
2.13. So this puts this movie just in front of The Crow, Chicago, JFK 300, and just slightly behind Almost Famous, Casino, and a Burnsy favourite, Friends with Benefits.
You're lucky that I gave this a low score. Otherwise, this was going to be outrageously high for what it was. Come on, like I've saved us here.
Could you imagine putting this on the social media saying we'll rank this movie higher than Casino and Almost Famous?
I stand by the fact that Casino's really overrated, so I think we've done a good job with that one.
Fair, it was only Kel that actually overscored it. Me and Hunter were a bit.
Aye,
right.
It's definitely a below average film.
Aye, it's well below average, and we've kept it just below average. So
I don't know. There's some shite above it. Girls Trip. Fucking.
That's fucking garbage. That was Sean that loved that. I think he gave it a high score.
I think I loved it.
Aye, Bonzi gave it a high score.
There's a giant Bobby in that to enjoy at least. So.
We didn't even get to see Connors.
It would have been nice if Conor McGregor's Bobby was in this movie. That would have made it a wee bit better.
Probably
Bobby
shrivelled up due to his nocturnal activities.
Aye. He's boss acts like fucking 2 peanuts now.
Well, guys, let's put an end to this because we've got 15 minutes before we need to go and do the draft call next.
Oh, fuck, we've got fantasy football transfers. I need to go and look at what I'm doing.
These are the coolest fucking guys in the world, eh? Movie podcast, fantasy football.
We're going into our fantasy football chat, and then I'm going to start talking about our Rosenberg save that we're doing as well in Football Manager, so we're all cool as fuck here.
Yes.
The fucking losers we are. Are we announcing and committing to Barbie as the next movie to review?
I think we should do Barbie, and then I think what was the other film we committed to for the next one was Burnsy's choice of No Hard Feelings.
If you
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's right.
And then I was going to suggest we try and get someone else on for one of those because we've been reaching out to a few people on Instagram and see about getting wee guests on like we did with Chris and that. So I think it'd be fun to get someone on who really likes. I think we should get a guest on for Oppenheimer. Yes. So if we're going to do Barbie and your movie, Burnsy, let's do Oppenheimer the week after and give it, because I'm like you, right? I'll probably fucking slate it as well, but I think we should do it just because it should be done. And let's get someone on who really loves movies and loves Oppenheimer and let them be disgusted by us fucking hating it.
We'll need to make
John, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
We need to cut this out in case they listen to the episode and know what they're getting into.
No. If you're coming on and you want to watch Oppenheimer with us, understand that we're all fucking idiots and we might fucking hate it and you might want to fucking kill yourself by listening to us complain about it. We might love it as well. I don't know. I've not seen it.
The clue's in our name. That's all we need. That's all we need. But that does bring us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I can't believe we spent an hour and 15 minutes talking about Roadhouse. I'm shocked. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed that, guys. Nice to see you. As morons do, bid you farewell.
The cunts.
Arrivederci.
Sorry I don't speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun! You fucking moron!
Dressed up like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
sidestepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
Bid you farewell and good luck, morons. Bye.